What do you think is the most important trait to instill in a child?
Oh my goodness. I would have to say confidence.
Mm.
I really would. This world is going to challenge you in so many different ways. And if we don't instill the confidence in our children to be who they were created to be and to love the person that they see in the mirror, it's going to be the road is going to be so much tougher for them. It's going to be so much tougher. You have to be able to speak life into yourself. You have to know what you love about yourself. You have to be able to look at you and say, no matter what's going on out there, I believe in this person that's in front of me. And so I believe being able to instill that in them and to also be able to instill a sense of balance and well being. Take the time that you need. Push for your goals, go after your goals, do all that, but don't do it so much till you forget who you are.
Welcome to Single Parent Success Stories, a podcast designed to inspire single parents. Here you'll find resources from self-care to finances to parenting and everything in between. Discover what it takes to thrive. Let the stories inspire you to what is possible.
Hello and welcome to Single Parent Success Stories. Today we have a special guest, Shelley Meche'tte. She has overcome depression while balancing single parenthood and a career. And it's not just possible, but it is she was able to create an incredibly empowered life. And today she is a certified purpose and confidence coach, empowerment speaker, and mom life strategist who has turned her personal battle with depression into a powerful journey of resilience and personal success. And she is here today to share her story and invaluable insight on managing depression while raising children on her own. Welcome, Shelley. It is a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Please share with us your story.
Yes, absolutely. Again, my name is Shelley Meche'tte, and I'm a certified life purpose and confidence coach, author, and a mom life strategist. And today, I'm happy to say that I'm able to balance the world of entrepreneurship and balance the world of still being available to my children and my family. My children are older now, but for those of you who have older children, you know that the mom journey never stops; it just changes. But when my children were small, when I want to say maybe around 5 and 12, maybe a little bit older, but I fell into a complete emotional breakdown, a complete depression. And this happened after I had left my job in corporate. At this particular time, I was married when I fell into this particular depression. But here's the thing, I recognized that I was in this particular depression because I had hit a depression years before. And at that time, I was a single parent. I was doing everything on my own. I had just had a really, really bad breakup. I was trying to manage the breakup. I was trying to manage raising my child by myself. I was trying to manage a very demanding job, which was in entertainment. Everything in my life was just kind of compiling on top of me, and there was no one to turn to. I didn't have a partner to turn to. I grew up in a Christian home, so I felt like I didn't have anyone to turn to because I felt like, just pray it away. If you pray hard enough, if you pray long enough, if you fast, then you're going to be able to overcome this. And let me make the disclaimer. I am 100% about prayer and turning things over to God and allowing God to really move in your life. But God has allowed resources as well. And I didn't know at that time that I had the right to use that resource of a therapist. I didn't know that. And so I literally walked probably, I want to say, a year, maybe even more, in this depressive state until I got to the point of where I wanted to take my life. And I would sit on the floor in the evening times. I would sit on the floor, crouch down with my head, just like into my lap, just rolling back and forth on the floor, because at that time I started hearing voices telling me that I was no good, that I was a terrible parent, how much better my daughter would be without me. I was a terrible mom. I was neglecting my child because I was working so much. And so then there was this guilt about working so much, but I'm a single parent, so I have to work. And all of this began to really affect my mental well-being, to the point of where when I was laying on the floor one night, I began asking God, if you really do love me, if you really are who you say you are, this loving, wonderful God, then please kill me. I'm so glad he did not, say yes to that request. I don't know how much later it was after that, but God used my employer at that time to make me laugh. I had been holding on so long to this depression. I was very careful about the things that I would say, but I guess this particular day, it had just been so long and I was just so exhausted. I don't remember our conversation, but I remember saying to her, I don't really care about dying. I don't care. I could die today and I wouldn't care. I know where I'm going. And she said to me, well, if you're just, if that's the case, you just might as well stay here on earth because God don't want no sad people in heaven. And I bust out in this laughter that I hadn't heard in ages. And so I looked around to see, like, who is this person laughing? And it was me. But that was my first sign of hope that, wow, there's still a laugh in me. And so without any help, any outside help, without, a therapist, without other people in my life, which I do not recommend. And when I say without other people in my life, I don't mean I didn't have family. I mean, I felt that I couldn't go to them, because when I tried to go to somebody and pretend, I said to them, hey, I have a friend who's struggling mentally. And I began to explain it to somebody and they told me, get away from her quick because she's filled with the devil, And so I felt like there was nobody who I could go to. So when I say that there was no one, I'm not saying I didn't have my mom and my family there. I just didn't know that I could go to them. But when I made this laugh, when I had this laugh, it was just a little sign that, oh my goodness, there's still laughter in you. And I remember looking at my daughter and I remember saying to myself, I don't want her story to end with my mother took her life. So how do I begin to make sure that that's not how her story ends? And it was just her little smile that I would just hold on to every single day. And it still chokes me up to this day, years later, that between my employer and just looking at my daughter and just her smile, she was only 2, I think, at the time. And just to hold on to her smile and her little hands, her hands were just so small and she would just cuff, my face. And I held on to that because I didn't have anything else to hold on to. I couldn't see what would happen in a week, in 2 weeks, in 3 days. I just had to live for the moment. And that moment was a smile from her or a touch from her. And that's what continued to get me through.
Oh, wow. Wow. But
Yeah.
but the moment to moment living, I think that, because when we focus or we spend a lot of time in the past, like what we should have done and where we should have been, and we miss out on being present, and you were able to anchor into the present and forward to that smile or to that touch. So was so much for you.
Just that one thing at a time. I didn't know that was going to also build, a confidence in me, a confidence in decision making, a confidence in love, a confidence in myself, that I can do this. Again, I do not recommend doing it alone, but as a parent, when you're a single parent and you're trying to balance different emotions, you're living with a day-to-day, responsibilities that you're doing on your own. And so when you're doing these responsibilities alone, a lot of times your well-being, your emotional well-being, that mental well-being, it gets put on the back burner a lot. because you're in survival mode. You know what I mean? So you're constantly trying to work. You're constantly trying to take care of somebody. You know, if your child is sick, you have to take off work. When you take off work, you're missing money. When you're missing money, this bill, may fall behind. All of this is going on in your head 24 hours a day as a single parent. So to also have to deal with emotional issues, your mental well-being, and do that by yourself, now it's so much better because we do talk about our mental health. We do talk about reaching out. But at that time, to not have that confidence was extremely difficult. To not understand how to even balance life was difficult because that becomes chaotic as well. Just balancing motherhood with life. There's someone else depending on you. And when two people are depending on you, you and your kid, it can become extremely overwhelming.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any vacations, days
No,
off, sick days. You're always
no,
24/7.
you're always on. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that was the thing, trying to understand, especially when I began to come out of that depression, which is why, like I said, years later, I was able to recognize it. And thank goodness, I had a family at that time. I was more confident in voicing, how I feel and voicing where my mind was. At that time, after I was married, going through this again, I literally wrote my family a note. I literally wrote them a note. And I sent them this note about where I was. I texted my family in a group text about where I was emotionally, where I was mentally, what I was struggling with. Um, um, and just some areas that I needed them, or some areas that maybe I needed them to pull back, some areas where maybe I felt like I was being crowded, or I couldn't, or I felt like maybe I couldn't express myself. But all of those things I put in a group text to let them know, this is where I am mentally right now, and this is where I think I need your help.
Wow, that's
Yes.
incredible.
And that was me being able, thank goodness, to go back to that woman some years ago and say, you don't have to be her. Depression sometimes, unfortunately, comes into our lives, and sometimes we battle it more than once. But you're not that woman from 10 years ago, from 12 years. You're not that woman. You have a voice now. Use that confidence that you built to use that voice. And so again, there was a building of confidence there from what I had gone through before to be able to address my family so that they could help me through this time.
How did they react to that note?
You know what? I really think that they were shocked at first to just be like, oh, wow. So, I think it was a bit of a shock. And I think it was kind of like, are you okay? Are you contemplating, and I'm like, no, it's not there. It's not there. I just want to let you know that here's where I am. And so here's where the struggle is. And I want to bring you into it this time. I don't want to be that person from, 10 years ago where I'm struggling by myself, where I don't have anyone to go to. I want to bring you into this journey. And they really rallied around me. And even at that time, even though it was just a small gesture, but everybody stopped what they were doing at that second to respond to the group text, to let me know that they were there for me, to encourage me, to pour life into me, and to love me through text.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was very courageous of you to put it in writing. But on the other hand, I think it's better because you could get all your thoughts out instead of like maybe when you have a conversation, people are interrupting you and it goes into wrong direction. You kind of were able.
Yes. It was a chance for, right. You're right. It was a chance for me to just, to just spill out, to just be able to, and it was very therapeutic to just say, here's all my feelings. The scary part was hitting send. And so that's where I had to go back and say, hey, you built this confidence. Now allow that confidence to allow you to share your voice. Because that's the thing. I needed the confidence to share what it is that I was feeling.
Totally, totally. It was very brave of you. But you're probably grateful that you did.
Very, very grateful. And it really did give them an opportunity to come in and say, how can I help? Even if I didn't know how, the idea that they would say, hey, I'm here. How can I help? What can I do? Or where do I need to pull back? What is it that you need? And even at the times when I was like, I'm not really sure what I need, the thing that I found to be so wonderful is my youngest daughter, she's very, intuitive, and she's very much into you. So she pays attention to a lot of things, that you do. And so even when I didn't know what I needed, she would always end up doing a gesture. So, she may come and bring me a cup of coffee, not knowing that just that gesture, maybe I didn't know maybe I didn't know exactly what I needed, but just that gesture of doing something for me, it just gave me this feeling of love, connection, and that you can do this. You can do this. You know?
Totally, totally. It's sometimes the things like are so cherished when you didn't ask for them, and
Yeah. Exactly. And so that's how it feel. And so that's how I think my family really, really helped me. Everything wasn't about an ABC. I need you to do this or I need you to do that. Some things were just, a spontaneous hug.
yeah,
And
those are the best. So, would you do anything differently if you go back in the past to younger version of you? What kind of advice would you share with Shelley?
The younger version of me, when I went through this the first time, the thing that I probably would have done different is to reach out, but again, I didn't know that that was an option. I would have loved to not have gone through that journey so long by myself. um and so I think if there was anything other than that, because life happens, and sometimes, as unfortunate as it is, we will find ourselves in a position where we do have to deal with depression. So I think the only thing that I would have loved to have been different is if I knew that there was an option for me to reach out. I don't regret the time, or I don't, or anything like that, because it really did allow me an opportunity to build a different type of strength, to build a different type of confidence. Is it something that I would desire to go through? Absolutely not. But it's not something that I look at and go, oh my gosh, I wish that I wish that things had been so different in my life. It wasn't different in my life. The situation was the situation. And I'm happy now that I know that there are other options, that I know that my family will walk me through, that I know that there's therapy that I can do, which I am a huge advocate of. So,
So, other than asking for help during this time of depression, did you do anything else? Did you do therapy? Did you read any kind of books? What helped you along
you
the way?
know what? I did not. And so what made the difference for me, because the first time, like I said, there was nothing that I did. God literally himself took my hand and walked me through. And every day it was just, if I could make it till 2 o'clock, hey, if I could make it till 3 o'clock, if you will show me something, and something there. I began to look at things a little differently. The situation didn't change, not immediately, but I began to hold on to different things. I held on to my daughter's touch. I held on to my daughter's smile. Instead of me looking at the sky and looking at how dull, you know, the sky looked, I looked for the colors that was in the sky. I looked for different things. So that was the first time. Dealing with it, though, the second time, I had someone to hold my hand. And even though I still did not go into therapy. I really feel like being able to have my family, for me, was therapeutic. I do not knock the therapy side of it, but I just feel like at that time, being able to journal, being able to write, being able to breathe, being able to admit where I was, because that was another thing. I think that I didn't want to admit, that this is where I was. But the first step in healing is to recognize the hurt. And I don't think that I was there yet to recognize that hurt. And so I think this second time around, when I recognize, oh my goodness, I'm falling into this pattern. And I think at this time, this is the time to reach out, not when you're so deep into it that you feel like you can't reach out, but at the beginning, that was the time to do it. And so I think that maybe that would be the thing right there that I would suggest. When you be at the beginning, before it has an opportunity to consume you, make your plan before it ever happens, especially if you've dealt with depression before. Make your plan. If I begin to walk in this again, what's my plan? Even if you've never dealt with depression, because life is what life is. Who can you turn to when you begin to see that you're going down that path? What are some things that you would do for yourself? Are you currently, in ongoing therapy? I don't think that we should wait until there's an issue to seek out therapy. I think it should be a part of our lives, whether it's, weekly, whether it's monthly, whether you check in every 3 months. I think it's a wonderful part of life. If therapy is not where you are right now, who is that one person that you can sit down with once a month, every couple of months, and really pour out where you are, the vulnerability side of who you are? Who is that person that you can pour out to? So I think having a plan in the beginning before you fall too deep, I think that's very important.
You're right. You're right. Preparation is always best.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you think is the most important trait to instill in a child?
Oh my goodness. I would have to say confidence. I really would. This world is going to challenge you in so many different ways, And if we don't instill the confidence in our children to be who they were created to be and to love the person that they see in the mirror, it's going to be the road is going to be so much tougher for them. It's going to be so much tougher. You have to be able to speak life into yourself. You have to know what you love about yourself. You have to be able to look at you and say, no matter what's going on out there, I believe in this person that's in front of me. And so I believe being able to instill that in them, and to also be able to instill a sense of balance and well-being. Take the time that you need. Push for your goals, go after your goals, do all that, but don't do it so much till you forget who you are. So I believe that combination of building your confidence and letting you know it's okay to create a fulfilling yet balanced life, I think that's extremely important. And it's important for us as parents to model that for them.
Definitely, yes. The greatest compliment I received recently from my son, like he was filling out a paper in school, and one question was, what is your mom best at? And he said, she's best at being happy.
Yes.
It was so unexpected.
I love it. I love it. And we just give so much more when we're genuinely happy, when we have genuine joy, then that, that pours out to those that are around us. And our children pick up on that. Our children see that. Our grandchildren see that. Our nieces see that. Our nephews see that. The people around us, we're able to parent so much better when we have the confidence in ourselves. We parent so much better when we're confident in our decision making. We parent so much better when we're confident in who we are. And so when I'm confident in me, I can pour that into you.
Of course, yeah. I embarked on this happiness journey back when I was going through my own set of depression, and I realized I could no longer live like that, and I just wanted to be happy.
Yes.
Know how it looks, what it feels like, that was my goal. And then 10 years later, seeing my son saying that.
That is amazing. That is a wonderful compliment. And because you're such a vibrant person and such a joyful person and such a happy person, I'm sure that has poured over to him. And I'm sure he is just as joyful and wonderful and smiling just as much as his mom.
Thank you. Thank you. What is your superpower if you had to
Oh
pick
my,
one?
oh my goodness. You know what? Gosh, I hope and I believe that my superpower really is just love. You know, I the people who I love, I just really love, you know, and and I want to be able to give that love, and I love receiving that love from them. I love being a parent. I actually love being a mom. It's challenging. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, but I love being a family woman. I absolutely love my family. I adore my husband. I adore my children. I adore family. And so I really think that superpower is just being able to love. You know, I think it's such a powerful thing when we love other people, when we love ourselves, and when we can express that and love other people. And so I hope that I've been able to give that to people in my life.
You're right. Love is the greatest emotion of all and greatest
Absolutely.
power of all.
Yes, it changes things. It really does. You know, and my desire is to be impactful in the lives of other people. And I believe that begins with love.
Mhm. You're right. You're right. What kind of advice would you share with single parents who are just stepping onto the journey of single parenting?
Oh my goodness. I think the first thing that I would say to you is to build a support system. Build a support system. You need a mom squad. We all need a mom squad, right? And so I would literally say, build that. You know, learn how to go for the ask. Learn how to say, hey, here's where I am. Here's what I need, and build it out before you need it, guys. You know, when you know that you're going to need some time alone, build that out first. Look at your circle and say, who can I trust, to come in and care for my child for a couple of hours while I just go relax for a minute. So build that out. Ask your community beforehand, so that you can have that system already set in place. So I would definitely say to build that out. I would also say to build your voice. Build your voice as a single parent, because there's so many times that being a single parent, someone is going to challenge what it is that you're doing. Especially when you're just starting out. And I believe that a lot of times it's genuine because people do want to help, but we need to be able, as parents, period, but especially as single parents, we need to be able to build our voice and stand on it. Stand on those things. Being able to accept advice is wonderful and great, but if you know that this is what's best for your home, for your dynamic, for you and your child or your children, stand on that and be able to create a solid voice to say thank you, but this is how I'm going to do things.
Totally. Yeah. You're right. Did you have any people, I call it, any heroes growing up in your life who you looked up to?
Oh my goodness, my mom was my hero, okay? Because my mom could do no wrong. My mom was a single parent. My mother got married when I was around 12. And so for me, looking at my mother was like looking at Superwoman. Okay. I didn't know that she was human until I was grown. I was like, oh, you bleed too. I didn't know that. Because I just felt like my mom was so powerful. I felt like she had all the answers. She was beautiful. She got out there, she worked, she did her thing, she didn't ask, anybody for anything. She was headstrong. And so I found all of those things to be amazing and wonderful. But what's actually crazy is because I saw my mother as this wonderful, perfect being who gets out there and does what she needs to do and she never complains, it actually became a pitfall for me later in life when I became a single parent, which again, that's one of the reasons why I felt like I couldn't reach out because I was like, well, who are you to have issues? Who are you to have problems? Your mother was a single parent and she did it all and she never complained and she this, and blah, blah, blah. Again, not knowing that, my mom's like, where's this woman, that you're talking about? Where's she at? Because, I got days in the bathroom and I'm like, really? So coming to terms with, wow, you're a person too. I didn't know that. Because she just represented everything that was wonderful and beautiful to me. Being able to add that extra layer to really find out, no, she's not just your mom. She's a woman. She's a person. And there's so many different layers to this, to this being. But I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to look up to my mother. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to witness and be loved by someone. I'm so glad that later in life we were able to really peel back some of the layers so that I could get to know the woman behind the parent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're so right. We always wear these masks or these identities that we associated ourselves with, and like what happens when you remove those identities and those
Exactly.
who
Exactly. What happens when we take all the titles away? Who are we then? And so it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to be able to find out different things about her, especially again, after I became a parent. And it's like she's like, nope, I understand this side. I understand that side. Yep. I've been there. I did, and I was like, are you sure?
like
So yeah.
are there any fun projects you're working on that you like to share?
I am currently working on a masterclass that I am putting together for ambitious and wonderful mompreneurs. So I look forward that I'm excited about that, and I'm working on exactly what it's going to be. But I'm in the works right now to put something together for ambitious mompreneurs. Yes.
Awesome. Nice. Thank you. Is there anything I haven't asked that you would like to share?
Oh my goodness, I think you have covered it all. I would just like for the parents out there to know that you can do this. I know that seems very cliche and it's like, yeah, we hear that all the time, but really own that. Own that you can do this. It may not look as perfectly as you thought it was going to look. You may do it and you may have bumped your head a couple of times. You may have found out I did it and that was a mistake. And that's okay. Life is filled with learning curves. Life is filled with mistakes. Life is filled with messiness, especially being a parent. And so always know though, at the end of the day, you can do this. You can have a support system. The support system is there to catch you when you fall. The support system is there to encourage you, to pick you back up. But at the end of the day, look at yourself. Look at yourself and say, hey, you can do this no matter what it looks like today. Whether the baby throws up all over you, whether you got a call from the school, again, and now you got to run up to the school because they driving you crazy. Take the moment you need, drop the tears you need, yell in the pillow if you need, and go back to that same thing of knowing at the end of the day, you have it and you can do it.
Very well said. Yes. I think being confident and believing in oneself, and we never given challenges that we cannot handle. Every challenge is an
and if you do,
opportunity.
the challenges that I can't handle, me personally, I turn it over to God because that's who I believe can handle it.
Yeah.
And so I don't even go in, it's not so much that I personally go into it like I'm never going to meet a challenge that I can't handle. I probably will meet a challenge that I can't handle. That's why I have Christ, so that he can handle it.
Awesome. If people would like to connect with you, learn more about you, where would they go?
Yes, absolutely. You can connect with me on my website, which is www.shelleymeche'tte.com. And that's SHELLEY Meche'tte. I would love to connect with you on Instagram, which is also my name, Shelley Meche'tte. And for those who like to connect with me in my Facebook group is called Moms with Purpose. You are more than a mom, and we can connect there as well.
Awesome. Thank you. And we'll include everything in episode notes. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you for coming on. And I love your kind of key lesson, asking for help, that it is never too late. It is never an overburden. It's actually opportunity for us to enlist people in our lives and
Yes, absolutely.
have that kind
Absolutely.
of support.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much.